Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for January of 2019. So, this one is the horoscope for Sagittarius. You can check this out if you're a Sag Sun or a Sagittarius Rising. And let's pop open your chart here and take a look. So, most of this month's action comes in the second house and sign of Capricorn in your chart here. I'm going to be a little bit more concise and not flip through every single thing this month because everything is so condensed. So I'll just summarize for you. On the first of the month, yesterday, Sun and Saturn conjoin. On the 5th of the month, there's a solar eclipse in Capricorn. On the 8th of the month, Mercury in Capricorn will square Mars and Aries in your 5th house. You can see Mars and Aries just entered your 5th house. Uranus just about to turn direct in your 5th house. So there is kind of a second house, 5th house dynamic this month. We'll talk about that. Then on the 12th or 13th, Mercury will conjoin Saturn in Capricorn. Around the 10th, 11th, Sun will conjoin Pluto in Capricorn. On the 21st, Mars and Aries will square Saturn in Capricorn. So it's like that all month long. There's a couple of other transits we're going to talk about, but let's start there. So second house, 5th house dynamics, what are those all about? Well, first of all, you're looking at a house in the second that has to do with your time, money, energy, resources, and values, what you have, what you're in possession of, what you're growing. The second house is really so much the focus of not just this month, but the year ahead for you, with eclipses continuing to fall in the second house, with Saturn and Pluto by next winter of 2020 coming together in a conjunction. They're going to get about 3 degrees away in the next 6 months. So this area of your life is very much the focus right now. It has to do with, sometimes it has to do with things like your food, your diet, the things that you have, and your relationship to material things. This can also have something to do with your core values. By values in the second house, we really mean, in a sense, material values, what you have, what you desire to have, what you're in possession of, what you do and don't like or want, usually in terms of your movable goods or possessions, which can translate into things like diet, food, and lifestyle. So there's a big emphasis on growing up in this area. Capricorn, a lot about maturing, becoming wiser, becoming more experienced, developing more mastery, more and sort of discipline and focus, kind of becoming older and a little bit wiser. There can also be just big changes structurally in how you manage your finances or in the financial dynamics around you. Sometimes getting rid of things. Saturn is planet of necessity. So where is necessity, what you have to do or what you can't do? How is that shaping the path for you right now, especially again in relation to money or finances? Now, with Uranus turning direct in the 5th house in Aries, and Mars having just entered Aries in the 5th house, 5th house is in on the action as well. And it's a house that's really related to pleasure and joy and a certain degree sex and, pregnancy. And it's related to having fun and finding ways, sort of non-goal oriented recreation, sports, theater, dance, going out to a restaurant, this kind of thing. The 5th house can be a little hedonistic, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, sort of the attitude of the 5th house. So you do want to be a little bit careful about that, because when you look at the square between these planets, you're also looking at lessons around money, finances, resources, and sometimes frivolity or sort of recklessness and indulgence. That can be a second house, 5th house dynamic. Second house, 5th house can also have to do with money, values, resources, and children. If you have your own kids, or if you work with kids, sometimes there's some heavier themes involved in those areas. Sometimes you're footing the bill for things that your kids are going through that are difficult. They may need it, but it's still it's an expense. Second house, 5th house dynamics can also have to do with, what are you working for in life? Are you having any fun? Are you making sure that it's not all just work without play? That can be a second house, 5th house dynamic. Also, how is your energy and your time and your money going into your sort of creative, each of us have a kind of creative pulse, something that makes us feel alive. Fifth house is also related to, that sense of where you find beauty, pleasure, joy, and a kind of creative connection to your life path. So the second house, fifth house dynamic somehow will feed into that. And with so much Capricorn, it's heavy emphasis there. So are you really prioritizing your time and your energy so that you're doing things with the time you have here on Earth that are creatively fulfilling? That's a second house, fifth house dynamic as well. So a lot to think about in the second house and fifth house. And then we move along, and by January 13th, we're going to see Jupiter in Sagittarius square to Neptune in Pisces. Now, this is a really an imaginative dynamic. It's such a contrast to the sort of stern, heavy, work-intensive Mars, Saturn, and Mars, Aries, Capricorn dynamic. This is Jupiter, Neptune is inspiring, imaginative. It inspires us to look beyond what's known. So it's associated, for example, with like the launching of the Hubble telescope, with the release of the Star Wars franchise back in 1977, with the release of the movie Avatar. It's a very sort of, takes you into another world. Very inspiring compared to like practical, heavy, sort of more laborsome Capricorn. It's a very different energy. Jupiter's been in your first house since November. It's there for a year. It's a year of personal growth and expansion, hopefully not in the sense of just getting fat and eating a lot, which actually can happen when Jupiter gets into your first house. You can just kind of blow up because of self-indulgence. But Jupiter square Neptune in the fourth house of home, family, and roots. So there's a lot of financial stuff going on right now. There's also a lot of emphasis on you, who you are, how you're growing and changing as a person, and how is that related to your home, family, or roots. Jupiter Neptune can also be about the desire to move and relocate in these houses, to start fresh somewhere new, maybe abroad or some different way of living, new roommates, moving in with someone that you love. The sense of your identity growing, changing, and in relation to family and roots, parents, very pronounced with Jupiter and Neptune. I think it's a very inspiring time. It's a time where you could very well also draw on the ancestral past and come to a deeper understanding of yourself in relation to family karma. So there's maybe some of that. Some of that may require a little bit of healing work, but I think Jupiter and Neptune overall very uplifting and helps you feel as though you're being renewed. And even if there's a heavier theme, it's sort of like the feeling that I get in this month in general is that it's not just heavy, there's an adventure to be had. And that is going to kind of soothe some of the heavier qualities of the Capricorn eclipse and so forth. All right, so and along with this, right, is on January 21st, there's a lunar eclipse in your ninth house in Leo. Now, you've been getting these for a while, over a year now. You've had lunar eclipses falling in the ninth house in Leo, signaling, again, changes with regard to faith, religion, beliefs, higher learning, sometimes long journeys to foreign places. Sometimes this means that there is going to be a very powerful emphasis on traveling abroad in 2019, or learning something new, or your faith or beliefs changing. The eclipse there signals that such changes are on their way. And remember, this is the last of the long series, so it may also kind of bring things totally to a head. Now, when you look beyond that, on January 22nd, thereabouts, Venus and Jupiter, Venus is going to go into Sagittarius, conjoin with Jupiter here in your first house. Very auspicious transit. Venus-Jupiter brings a lot of benefits, gain, beauty, sort of big, grand, expansive themes. That should be nice, again, considering how heavy the month feels with such Saturn-Mars dynamics playing out. So think about that. Make sure, again, with Jupiter, Venus, square Neptune all month, that you're being as grounded as possible. But also, don't be afraid of being inspired and to go out on a limb, because the Jupiter-Venus, Jupiter-Neptune dynamic is quite expansive, and it's going to probably fill you with maybe a new vision for where you'd like to go or what you'd like to do with your life. Don't think of, sometimes those things come up for us and we go, well, it's just a passing fancy. I don't, I'm not going to take that seriously. But I think whatever inspiration you receive this month is going to keep pressing on you throughout the rest of the year. So, pay attention to it now. You're really maybe looking for practical ways of supporting or funding your dreams right now. That's another kind of image that comes to mind when I look at your chart. So, all right, Sagittarius, that's what I've got for you. I hope you have a very beautiful month of January, and I look forward to catching up to you again in February. Take care.